Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reality exists, contrary to false rumors, and reality is kind. Contrary to our experience. We have a whole philosophy called existentialism, which says that, well, it started actually with a very spiritual person, Kierkegaard, who was saying that actually there are three levels of existence. Anybody knows? Aesthetic, ethical, and religious, you call it. Yeah. First one you enjoy, just enjoy. Second one you act out of duty, ethical. And then the third one you connect yourself to God. So he was the first official existentialist. However, the next ones became rather a sad bunch. Camus, Sartre, who rejected God completely, atheistic existentialists, saying that we are a spark of life in this ocean of misery. And there is nothing but misery in this world, so nothing matters except just be yourself. This, which is of course very destructive philosophy both for ourselves and for others. And at the same time, oftentimes you experience discomfort in this world, one way or another. So, in the Gita, Srila Prabhupada, he begins the Gita by saying that actually all of us experience some discomfort or another, experience some misery or another. So therefore, just like Arjuna, he actually was in a crisis, and so he is talking to Krishna, his friend, who happens to be God. Which is very fortunate. And we are inviting you also to make friends with God. It's possible. It's actually even advisable to make friends with God. Or at least to accept him as our friend, and then develop the relationship. And there are 5 relationships you can develop with him. So this verse here, it's just the beginning of Krishna's instructions. This is 256, and in the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna begins this verse by describing a sage. Modric, yeah? And how do you call a blue person? Means he's gone through the school of hard knocks. So this is the verse. Let's dukkha. Dukkha literally means hard going. Dukh means hard. Dukh means hard, difficult. And ka is the rotation of axis of a chariot, so hard going. So Krishna says we can chant this verse in Sanskrit, and then this is our favorite pastime. We sing Sanskrit poetry. You should obviously afterwards brag to your friends that we sing Sanskrit poetry. It's very fashionable. In Germany, they cannot take all the candidates to the universities who want to learn Sanskrit. So, like on Facebook, they have these 100 questions or something. What do you do on Sundays at 3? I sing Sanskrit poetry. Of course, you do it also on Monday at 4 or 5. So let's chant. Quarter by quarter. Dukkeshvanu dvignamanam, Dukkeshvanu dvignamanam, Sukheshu vigataspriham,
Sukheshu vigataspriham,
Vitaraga bhaya krodham, Stidadir muniruchyate.
Stidadir muniruchyate.
And let's see the translation. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries. I think recently you had a seminar on different kinds of miseries by Narayani Mataji. I saw on YouTube, on your channel.
Yes.
Threefold miseries. We classify the miseries. We have 3 categories for miseries, and we have different methods. Plus, there are 4 other kinds of miseries in a different classification. In Indian philosophy, they like classifications. It's all very clear. Threefold miseries. So you are not disturbed. One who is not disturbed in mind, anudvigna, se ne dvigne. Yeah, it's the exact same word. Amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness. And who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called a sage of steady mind. So Stidadir Munir Uchate, because Muni can mean just a philosopher, and you can be a disturbed and angry philosopher, or a disturbed and miserable philosopher. But here we want to be Stidadir Muni, a sage of steady mind. Like you see, you're all sages of steady minds. Some steadier than others, but steady. And then the next verse, there are 2 verses. Actually, it's a whole topic for another lecture. Yeah, maybe we should do it next Sunday. I think it looks like probably next Sunday also probably will give so maybe we will discuss again these verses from another angle. So these two verses go together. So 56 says that if you're a sage who is fixed in mind, who is undisturbed, then it means that when misery comes, when suffering comes, you say it's suffering and keep going. They say who? Churchill. They say Churchill, right? Churchill said that if you're going through hell, keep going. Just don't stop. There. Don't. They have this expression: wallow in misery. Wallow in misery. like a pig likes to wallow, roll in dirt, in mud. And if there, so anuvignamana, so you say, yeah, suffering. Is there? You're not saying no. You're not saying no. I am happy. It's all okay. I mean, you can say, but misery is misery. You know, if you get sick, you get sick. If something happens, it happens. We don't deny. We are not trying to be blind, but we are not trying to be fixated. We don't try to develop the victim mentality, because it's a big, it's very attractive. It's oftentimes more attractive to suffer than to enjoy. As some years ago, Hare Krišna Prabhu from Rome. I mean, it's easier to convince a person that you are not happy than to convince a person that you're not suffering. If somebody is suffering and I say, no, you're not suffering. They say, you rascal, you have no compassion, you have no empathy, you don't understand. But if I'm happy, if you're happy and I say, look here, and like Purusha was saying here, many years ago, they were, I think in Vrindavan, and he got a new computer, a super new computer, laptop. I think it was with the color screen. Fine, for the first time. And then he went, and he felt so happy. And then he went to his neighbor, Krišna Maharaj, then Prabhu, and he saw exactly the same computer, exactly everything the same, color screen, but with CD-ROM. And all his happiness was finished. As he describes, as Radha Govinda Maharaj is saying, that we are suffering not because we are unhappy, but because our neighbor is happy more. We think. Of course, he suffers the same. He looks at you. Living up to the Joneses, as they say. Or as we spend the money we don't have to buy things we don't need, to impress people we don't like. Modern lifestyle. So we are not fixated in misery, and if happiness, so Hare Krishna Prabhu said that why sometimes we are more attracted to enjoying misery. He's a wise, experienced person. He said, oftentimes we are more attached to be unhappy than to be happy, because he said it's much cheaper. To be unhappy is much cheaper. You don't have to spend anything. You don't even have to work. You need nothing, basically. To enjoy misery, nothing is needed. You just, to enjoy happiness, you need to invest some effort. That's more expensive. So, but happiness also will come, definitely, always. As Prabhupada writes also here in the Bhagavad Gita, in this world nobody can be completely happy and completely miserable. So always there will be some, like there is that famous psychologist, our neighbor from Vienna, Viktor Frankl. He was a psychology professor, and then he ended up in the concentration camp. I forgot which was the first. Then he was transferred to Dachau, and there is some picture from Dachau concentration camp. Anybody has been to Dachau in this life? It's near München. There is a picture from Dachau, and I think he's also there. And these pictures are quite terrible. Have you ever seen these pictures from concentration camps? They look horrible. You know, it's complete terror. So they show these completely emaciated, hungry people lying on the bed and looking frightened, terrified actually, and very weak. And somebody took a picture. So Viktor Frankl, he wrote several good books. Ja zum Leben sagen. He describes how to survive. Say yes to life. By the way, he's also an existentialist, but he's more of a... So he says his formula is find meaning, some meaning, purpose, goal, sense, and you can say yes to life. Ja zum Leben sagen. I think it was translated psychiatrist in a concentration camp. I think that's the translation of that one. So he said that I remember that picture, this terrible picture. They're lying there in the barrack and look terrible and look very suffering, very miserable. He says, I remember that picture. He says, this was our happiest day. He says, we got breakfast, we were sick, we were excused from work, and we could just lie down in the barrack for the whole day. So he says, I remember that day, it was a good day. So, always, Prabhupada says, in this world, you cannot be absolutely miserable. There is always a silver lining in every cloud. What's the corresponding proverb? Silver lining in every cloud. Sometimes I say that there is no bad without something good. Kako? Of course, Dachau, I don't know. Anyway, he came out he helped millions of people, this person. And in happiness, vigata spriha. When happiness comes, we do not try to grab and hold and and worry. What if I lose, or what if economy crashes, or comet falls, or what else? War, ice caps melt. How high we are over the sea level here?
300.
Okay, here we are okay, right? Yeah. But copper and Portorož. Oh. What to speak about Venice? Built of the Slovenian wood from here. On the Slovenian wood. Yeah. As Mark Twain famously said, one of my favorite quotes, in my life I have gone through thousands of terrible experiences, some of which actually happened. So sometimes happiness is there and you think, oh, what if this happens, that happens, and you worry. You're afraid of being attached. So then 57, second verse connected to this, elaborates a little more. I think also we can chant, it's a very good verse. Yak sarvatra nabhi snehas Tatat prapya subha subham Navinandati nadveshti Tasya pragya pratishtita. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Maybe we'll read also the purport. It's a short purport. There is always some upheaval in the material world, which may be good or evil. How did you translate upheaval? Reversals. One who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good and evil, is to be understood to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. Do we want to be fixed in Krishna consciousness? So here's the, you can see Prabhupada's definition. What does it mean to be fixed in Krishna consciousness? To not be agitated and to be unaffected by material events or upheavals. As long as one is in the material world, we are all in the material world, and the material world is the prison, is a little teeny piece of the whole existence for adventurous people who want to make different experiments and got ourselves in trouble with the law, so to say. It's a prison. There are better parts, like mild parts of prison. I don't know how. Like in Scandinavia, they have just a separate island for them, and you know, or in America they call it white collar prison for some small financial mistake. They put them. You know, you don't have to live with those tattooed guys, you know, who come and beat you up for it. Or there are even prisons where you just stay for the night, and then, yeah, you just go to sleep there. Yeah. And then you can go, and you have to mark yourself that, yeah. Well, still. So this world is a prison. There are good parts, but you know, better to be free. Actually, better to be free. Even though there is free food in prison, freedom is even better. There's free food also outside prison, don't worry. So as long as one is in the material world, there is always the possibility of good and evil. Because this world is full of duality. This is the nature of this world. You cannot expect prison to be only happiness. Even if it is only happiness, it's still prison. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil. So again, it's a subtle distinction. It doesn't mean you don't have good and evil. Good and evil comes. Happiness and suffering does come. Even to a perfect sage. Even if you are a perfect sage, you say moderates and a female moderates, how? How? Modrian. Moderates and Modrian. Yes. Anyway, if you are perfect, completely perfect, still some good and bad can come. Even suffering can come. And you don't say, no, I'm not suffering. You don't say you're not suffering. You say, yeah, it's suffering, it's some suffering. But you don't, focus on it. You do what you can. For example, if you are sick, you take the medicine. That's part of the duty. Your duty is to take care of the machine. And you keep going. You continue with, to a higher purpose. Of course, that means you know about the higher purpose. It means you know about the world outside this world. You know something that's not just this body. If I'm just this body, that's really sad. I can tell you. It's really sad. Because, our one is meniscus and many are what? Menisci? Meniscuses? Meniscusi get torn, especially after 40, if you're lucky to live so long. And digestion slows. Has your digestion slowed yet? No? Yes? Yes. Just see. And he does how many? 200 pull-ups? I forgot. There's a YouTube video I saw. 200. He runs. Our Bhagavad Dharma Prabhu. He runs marathons. He does 200 pull-ups.
115.
100? How many?
15.
15.
Yeah.
Only.
25.
Oh. I thought, yeah, still, go try. Yeah. So if we are just this body, sad news. Even if we are the mind, still the mind gets slower. Of course, more sly, more cunning, more clever, maybe. New tricks. But the speed is somehow, like your phone. I actually asked, why is it that the phones after some time become slower? Did you notice that after several years the phone becomes slower? And some software engineers explained to me that because they are updating the applications all the time, and the newer applications require more and more and more and more process speed. I mean, that's the idea. You buy newer and newer things, and sometimes you have to update to use some of the applications. So it gets slower. So if we are the body, or if we are the mind, it's really sad. I mean, it's sad anyway, but we are the spirit, and the spirit doesn't die. And if something can be destroyed, this is what Krishna said earlier. If it changes or can be destroyed, it's not real. So don't be sad. And if it's real, it cannot be destroyed, so don't worry. Don't worry. So don't be sad and don't worry. Nasato videte bhavo, na bhavo videte sada. It's 2:16 here. So, but one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil because he is simply concerned with Krishna, who is all good absolute. All good absolute. Prabhupada sometimes says summum bonum. Everything that's good. Again, we have to remember, he's beyond good and bad. He's all good, but he's beyond good. He's more than good. He's not just the top boss ruling this world. He's better. He's on the other side. Such consciousness in Krishna situates one in a perfect transcendental position called technically samadhi. Samadhi. So that's the perfection of yoga, samadhi. Full or trance. Also, there are different kinds of trance, but so what is the formula here? Do not focus on misery, do not focus on even happiness, focus on Krishna and on bhakti, or devotional service, or loving service to Krishna, loving service to the all good absolute. Absolute who is all good, who is kind. So it means he controls everything. He has a good plan. We accept his plan and we try to serve his plan. There can be sometimes some difficulty, but we are still moving in the right direction. Okay. Who of you here has ever climbed a mountain or a hill? Ah. Are you not from Slovenia? No. Slovenia is so nice. You have everything here. And definitely nice mountains. So, and hills. So, did you climb? Oh, maybe I can ask. Whoever climbed Triglav? Okay, very nice. It's on the flag. Yes. So, did whoever climbed Triglav in one day? Yeah, we were 1, 2, 3. Do we have more from that group that time? Oh, we climbed together, yes. So, as you were climbing, was it difficult? Was it difficult? Was it austere? Was it uncomfortable? Could we call it some kind of a suffering? You know, you climb and climb and climb, and you lose breath, and it's cold, and then you are sweating, and then something else. There was some suffering, right? But as long as you have a goal, you accept it. Not only you accept it, when I ask you, you smile. Yeah, I did. So that suffering becomes pleasure, actually. Even before it's pleasure. Sometimes we pay. We pay to suffer. I mean, like, you know, you go for a workout in a gym, you're suffering. It's called work, you know. And for this work out, they don't pay you, you pay them. And you enjoy. You call it, yes, very nice. So if you have a purpose, if you have a meaning, if you have a goal, and especially if this goal is transcendental, meaning it's outside of this prison of the material world, especially if this goal is connected to the all-good Krishna, to the Absolute, who is independent of anything, and who is your friend already. He is everybody's friend already. That's guaranteed already. He's your friend, for sure. He wishes us all well. He's trying to help all of us. Always. Then we can be less concerned about suffering and happiness of in this prison. You know, we can just think, okay, just first of all, we are already connected with Krishna, and there is an exchange. Yoga means connection. So we already have connection. You serve, and you already, and especially Bhakti Yoga is unique. You have immediate connection. Very quick. No Adi Yoga offers such a quick connection to the absolute reality, to Krishna, as loving service. So Krishna. So you can experience now, and if you are going through a tough patch, through a difficult part, you know, there is the light at the end of the tunnel, or you know that you're going in the right direction. You're going to the spiritual world, or to spiritual perfection. It doesn't matter where you can be undisturbed. So that's how to suffer correctly. You see it as temporary. You see it as just part of the prison life in the material world, and you try to have a higher purpose and do something as loving service to the Lord, like sing Hare Krishna, help others, other prisoners, one way or another, help other helpers, devotees. And there are 64 elements of devotional service. Everybody can find something nice for yourself among these 64 elements of devotional service. And remember that He is all good. Reality is good. Only when we change our vision, and we see it more and more, our consciousness, when we become less focused on the external, then we will experience happiness from within. Actually, you are already happy. It's just that we are not looking where it is. As they give the example of a musk deer who produces musk. Muskus. Yeah. It's a very aromatic substance, and when the deer feels that aroma, he starts running and searching, but it's actually already there in his gland, musk gland. Whereas Purnachandra Maharaj was telling a story of some farmer who heard about jewels discovered in, where are they? This is South Africa, and then above, what do you have above? On the coast, Liberia, what is this? South Africa, and right up above. No, Kenya is on the right side. Yes, on the West Africa. Huh? Namibia. Anyway, so there are some jewels just in the ground. So he went to search, and he died of hunger. And his servant found in his farm, old farm, he found some funny stones on the path, on the surface. And when they checked, they were the diamonds. Just on where there was a little stream, and they were just on the surface. In his farm. He never thought to check his farm, his own farm. So we are already spirit, but we search for meaning somewhere outside, somewhere in the temporary material world, whereas we are actually by nature happy spirit souls, loving friends of God, loving servants of God. So once we realize this, become fixed, then we can suffer correctly. By seeing everything as part of Krishna's plan, seeing everything as mercy, and feeling gratitude for everything. Thanking Krishna for everything. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. And the fifth element of devotional service is Saddharma Pricha, asking questions about the path to the absolute truth. Any questions? One. Okay, let's see. I'm actually 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes over time. So let's maybe see 2, 3 questions. One. Who else? 2, 3.
Can you please explain the difference, the relations between reality, map of reality, mind and heart regarding suffering? Thank you.
Reality, map of reality, and
Mind and heart.
This last I couldn't hear.
Mind?
Mind and heart.
Heart, yes.
Okay. Mind and heart. Mind and heart, reality and map of reality. Yes, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I did use jargon, yes, because when I say mind, no, I didn't use. Because oftentimes when we say mind, we think intelligence, but in Sankhya Yoga, or in the Bhagavad Gita, intelligence and mind are different things. These are 2 different levels. And mind is heart. Mind is heart. That's the emotional part. Mind is emotions. Mind I like, don't like, in Sankhya. I should say, in Sankhya Yoga, in our terminology, in how we translate, manas is heart. Of course, heart also includes the other parts of the subtle body, including the decision center. So heart is the center of all of this, but primarily, mostly, in our case, mind means heart. Emotion and control of the mind means control of the emotions. And control of the emotions is not what you think. We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. Teachers! Letters! Yes. No, that's not this. That's correct. What they saying is okay. We are not against it. Mind control and thought control means, again, you don't wallow in dirt, so to say. You don't fixate on destructive emotions, whether positive or negative. You're not fixated. So, and you do not just suppress. You do not suppress forcefully. You refocus, redirect. You replay. As Prabhupada says, we are not trying to negate or kill the mind. We are not trying to kill the desires. We are not trying to kill the thoughts. We try to replace them with better, like a expert mother. When a child eats dirt, Prabhupada says, she says, "Come here, I have a nice sweet, nice bonbon for you. Yeah? Nice chocolate, if that's not a taboo for you." Recently I heard, who said it? Rasa Mandala recently said it's a carob substitute. Inside joke. So therefore, Prabhupada says yoga doesn't mean minus, yoga means plus. That's also a word play, because in Hindi, in school, in arithmetics, sum or plus is yoga. So it's a word play, because yoga can mean yoga, spiritual practice, and yoga also means plus. 1 plus 1 is a sum of 2 numbers. So that's yoga. So we add Krishna. So we get a higher taste. We have a positive. So we are not trying to suppress. We are trying to add higher taste, and then give sweet. And then naturally you don't want to eat dirt. Usually. Yes, this and map and reality. Yes, so we have no choice. We always perceive through the map, through some map of reality. But Bhagavad Gita at least gives us the best map of, how to say, the most, as accurate as possible, or as helpful as possible. And then it also gives us the process how to actually see. So in other words, Bhagavad Gita gives you the map and it gives you the tools to open the eyes, or get the night vision goggles to see the terrain itself, so that you can actually realize, you can get direct vision. And again, Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that it gives you experience very quickly. In just a few, even a few, like my experience, about 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, you can experience the connection. Or even half an hour of a good kirtan, you can get a direct, actual, non-material experience. I mean, you can also get a material experience, but direct, non-material experience also, by absorbing yourself in kirtan. Of course, it's not the end, then you continue. So, okay, I'm Hare Krishna, dragging. I think maybe we'll just ask one more, okay? I said 2, 3. So he already has that.
Okay. Hare Krishna. I have one question from Chaitanya Charitamrita regarding cleaning of the Gundicha temple. We already exchanged some thoughts a couple of months ago, you remember? It's okay if I read the purport? In 1 minute, it's going to be very fast.
It's huge. How about just first ask the question, maybe, and then see if we can...
I don't think that the majority read this, so they don't maybe know what's the point.
Can you switch it over? Tell the number, and Clement will switch, and
127
verse.
The purport.
27. This is Madhya.
Yeah, Madhya Lila, volume 3.
Chapter?
Chapter 12.
12. So Madhya 12, verse 127.
127.
127. 127.
127.
I'm always confused. New York Times. Yes. That's cool.
This will take some time.
We can just could have used just say no. You can same database. You were already in database. Just go back to the database and go up. No, you go click on the go up and click on library. And then books.
Sorry.
So question?
We have to go through the purpose to understand.
We have to. Anyway, you remember, we have to suffer correctly. And you see, it's joyful. It's right? Yes. They're all philosophers, you know. Undisturbed. Yes? Undisturbed. Waiting is an art. Lost, but... Ta-da! Yes.
Okay.
We can read it together.
The whole thing?
it's basically showing obeisances or pouring water into someone in front of the deities. I mean, in the second part it's very clearly something said, but I don't know if the practice follows this. So I would like to, to ask about these things.
Yes. So read. Can you read?
I mean, if we have it out there, then he can just go down.
Where?
A little more, yeah. A little more. Okay. It is necessary to observe the parampara system of the Chaitanya cult. There are many offenses one can commit while serving the Lord, and these are described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Hari Bhakti Vilas, and other books. According to the rules and regulations, no one should accept obeisances in the temple of the Lord before the deity, nor is it proper for a devotee to offer obeisances and touch the feet of spiritual master before the deity. This is considered an offense.
That's the question.
I mean, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was personally the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it was not actually offensive to wash his lotus feet in the temple. However, because he was playing the part of an acharya, the Lord considered himself an ordinary human being. He also wanted to give instruction to ordinary human beings. The point is that even though one plays the part of a spiritual master, he should not accept obeisances or permit a disciple to wash his feet before the deity. This is a matter of etiquette. But in practice, we usually see this.
Alright, so how do you reconcile this instruction
Yes.
with the fact that
Yes.
we see this in practice? There is one thing from 1995 I regret. I visited a place in Navadvip where it says that just visiting this place removes all offenses, even Vaishnava aparadhas, from you. And I was there, and I was just, what was it? I was 24 years old, actually, if you believe it. And I was in Saffron, and I was walking, and there was a very old Bengali lady, and she saw, okay, there is a person in Saffron, so she came, and according to the culture, she touched the feet, my feet. But we were taught, never, it's very bad, it's not humble if you allow people to touch your feet. Plus, you get their karma transferred to you. And there are many negative prohibitions against getting your feet touched. And so I remember, usually we were saying that you just touch her head, but I remember that I basically almost like pushed her. She, Bengali lady, she's much lower, not as tall, and I pressed her head and almost like, she didn't fall, but she was a little, she was not used to such treatment, and I regret. I think it was not nice from my side. It would be better for me to commit an offense and take the bad karma and whatever, and be proud, whatever, than to push this pious, probably she's already in the spiritual world, to push rudely into the head this pious Bengali Vaishnavi, 80 years old Vaishnavi. So in other words, as Rupa Goswami says, my brother has written a book with millions of rules, he says, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He says, I will give you only 64. So, rules there are unlimited as there are offenses. And there are different levels of these rules and principles. So you need to, so basically our training and education is learning which rule is more important and which rule is less important. Because sometimes it's impossible not to break one of the rules. There are two, like for example, in the 60 offenses to the deities, one is to glorify anybody, and the other is not to glorify your guru. So if your guru is here, if you glorify him, it's an offense. If you don't glorify him, it's also an offense. So what to do? Of course, you could do this for the pleasure of the deities, sort of, you know, an intellectual trick, how to do some special intellectual aikido and not aikido, it is a mountaineer knot. Do you know how to tie these knots for the mountaineering? There's some very special knots, you know, how you tie it. But the point is that they have different importance. As Prabhupada says, there are principles and there are details. So, yeah, it's good we study, so we avoid. And I think even here, just recently, somebody just touched my feet. After, you know, I came back after some time. Or in Vrindavan, 1 month ago, my student, very nice person, he touched my feet. Also in the temple, in the front of the... So I made a stern face and said, look, it's not good before the deities. But I didn't already, you know, push him. Of course, he's bigger also. But, and then he apologized. That, sorry, I didn't want to. So, sometimes, I mean, some mistakes will be unavoidable. We just need to know learn the hierarchy of importance of positive and negative rules, and offer everything to Krishna. Do everything for Krishna. And also, this is why Prabhupada emphasized education. That, you know, you have read, now you know. And it's amazing how many people have not read Chaitanya Charitamrita, even though it's available since decades in so many languages.
Yeah, however, in Chaitanya Charitamrita there are just those major things that we should be, you know, and the next thing is why Prabhupada would put that in the purport. What was his intention?
To educate, because he said, boys, girls, we need millions of gurus. So he's training us, basically. He gives us a training how to behave in different situations.
So for this particular is meant for who?
For both. Both for you, when you have your disciples, and also when you see your guru. You know, but then it's, I mean, there are subtleties. How, you know, like for example, there are, okay, like in the temple, you don't offer obeisances to your guru, but you can stand like this, or you can offer obeisances together with him.
Yeah, usually they do like this, yes.
Yes.
With both hands.
Yes. But also, between these offenses, when in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu the offenses are described, it is immediately mentioned that some offenses are worse than the others. So in other words, if we have to choose between two offenses, we choose the humbler one. It's also an offense, it's also not good, but it's humble. I mean, it means maybe they will forgive because considering our ignorance, or we are ready even to pay. I'm ready to suffer. Like Govinda stepped over Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to serve. He said, for your service, I'm ready to commit offenses. But he didn't step to go to eat, to go back. So for him, for service, he said, okay, I will do this. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
One small request.
Can't. No. Suffer.
What if you just give obeisances outside temple? What's wrong with that?
No, that's the best. That's the best, yes. Yeah, of course.
So if your guru comes, when he exits the temple, you can give obeisances. If you just saw him when you were in the temple, this is then okay?
Come again?
Like you come to the temple, and then your guru comes, and you see him for the first time when he enters the temple. So you can just wait that he exits the temple and you give him obeisances outside? That's okay then?
It's an alternative, an option. It's an option. You can do this. I can tell you another thing I regret. I think it was, what was it? I think it was just a puja of my Guru Maharaj. And I think, or whatever it was, I don't remember. At any rate, there was a person doing Prabhupada Guru Puja, and he offered Prabhupada the lamp, and my Guru Maharaj was standing, singing Guru Puja. And then I took it to offer to Guru Maharaj, and this senior devotee who was offering, he immediately touched the flame, which is, again, it's a different customs, different places. Usually you don't, but he touched. And then myself, being a very young devotee, I thought it's already, unofferable to my Guru Maharaj because he already touched it. So it's already touched by a younger devotee. So how can I offer this to my Guru Maharaj? So I'm going around my Guru Maharaj. My Guru Maharaj is, like... Why don't you offer it to me? Trying to sort of catch the flame. So again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's the material world. Basically, so again, in the material world, always something will happen. Something will be wrong. There will be some imperfection. So what do? You offer it to Krishna, try to do this for the pleasure of Krishna, and serve Krishna, and suffer correctly. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama.